Hey everybody, hope you guys are healthy and safe. So for the past 3 years, I have been doing most of my work off of two Apple laptops. Now, I don't want to own two Apple laptops. I'm actually a minimalist. I try to have as few things as possible, and I actually don't even use Apple products that much. My phone's usually an Android phone, but I've been using two Apple laptops for my work, a 16-inch MacBook Pro with, this is the M3 Max, but I was also on the M2 Max and the M1 Max, so it's the most powerful, capable of Apple's laptops. This guy is basically as powerful as any desktop computer out there. It allows me to do all my creative work, including editing videos. But then this laptop is also a little bit too heavy, the 16-inch model. I actually tried to use just a 16-inch MacBook Pro as my only work computer about like 3 years ago with the M1 Max machine, but it was just way too heavy. I carried it with me to Barcelona that year for MWC, and I just remember my back was hurting after walking around for like 7, 8 hours. So I had to begrudgingly buy a second MacBook, which is a 13-inch MacBook Air. Now, this is not as powerful as the Pro, obviously, but it's still pretty capable with Apple Silicon, and also it is much lighter. So I needed to own two machines to do my work. One for kind of like stationary at home or at a hotel, was this as like my on-the-go machine, particularly when I'm traveling. But I have been testing the 14-inch MacBook Pro, the M4 chip. So this is the newest one that came out about like 2 months ago. I've been using it for about a month now. And I actually think I can use just the 14-inch MacBook Pro M4 as my only computer going forward, meaning I can get rid of both these guys because, like I said, I don't want to own two laptops. Like, I actually don't have a lot of excessive stuff. Even if you watch my videos, you'll see that I wear the same like 4 shirts because I really just have like 5 shirts. I don't believe in like having 16 shirts, 12 pairs of shoes, and 3 laptops. So anyway, I think I can, going forward, get rid of both of these guys and just use the M4 MacBook Pro because this guy, it's powerful enough to do almost everything that I already do on the 16-inch Pro, but also because it is a 14-inch machine, it is also a lot lighter and more portable than the 16-inch machine. Now, it's not as light as the MacBook Air, but it's close enough that it's not that big of a difference, particularly since the MacBook Air, it is missing a card reader slot, so that means I always have to carry a dongle. That's why I have this stupid little pouch here. It houses a dongle and also a SSD storage because Apple storage are also very freaking expensive. So I have to carry this guy around just to hold the dongle, and I really don't like it. So with the Pro, it solves a lot of the problems. It actually has an SD card reader, and it's also a Pro machine, so it has a fan and it has a stronger CPU that allows me to do video editing. Now, if you're wondering, why am I just saying this now about the M4 14-inch MacBook Pro and not like the last generation, the M3 or the M2? That's because in previous years, the 14-inch MacBook Pro was actually kind of like an awkward middle child, meaning it wasn't quite as powerful as the 16-inch machine, but it also wasn't as light as the Air. So it was kind of like stuck in no man's land. Like, it was neither here nor there. So the M3 MacBook Pro 14-inch was missing a USB-C port compared to the 16-inch machine. Like, it had one fewer USB-C port. It had a weaker CPU, 8 cores instead of 10 cores. And it also only started with 8 gigs of RAM instead of the minimum 16 gigs of RAM that the 16-inch machine got. So because of these three factors, I always felt like that 14-inch machine was not a good purchase. But with the M4 MacBook Pro, the 14-inch machine, Apple's finally fixed that because Apple's finally given the 14-inch machine parity the 16-inch machine. So first of all the ports are here. All the number of ports that you get on the 16-inch model is now here. So there's nothing missing in terms of ports. Number two, the CPU here also starts at 10 cores now, the exact same as the 16-inch model. And the base RAM also got bumped to 16 gigs of RAM, which is the same as the 16-inch model. Of course, you can always get more if you want, but the point is, when you buy a 14-inch M4 now, it is the exact same as the 16-inch M4, just a little bit smaller. Whereas before with the M3, you felt like you were getting a watered down version of the machine. So because of that, I finally pulled the trigger on a 14-inch MacBook. So what else is new? Apple's given this year's M4 MacBooks a new nano texture coated display, just like on the iPad Pro. So this is it's an optional purchase. You'd have to pay more for it. but it's basically an anti-reflective, anti-glare coating on the display, and it looks great. I honestly think this is actually worth the money, because Apple stuff is quite expensive, like the storage upgrade, totally not worth it. But the nano texture display, I actually think it's worth the 150 or 200 US dollars, because the screen, it's so great, particularly when you're working outside by the window. Like, it does not reflect light as distractingly as other MacBook screens. Beautiful looking panel, and honestly, I love looking at it. Now with the Pro machine, you also have a tremendous speakers. On the 16-inch MacBook Pro, those are like the best speakers I have in this house. I actually have a Bluetooth speaker here that I don't really use that much, because the 16-inch MacBook Pro speakers are even better in my opinion. It pumps out fuller audio. I'm happy to report that the 14-inch Pro model speakers, not quite as full as the 16-inch, but still really, really good. Basically, if you buy a MacBook Pro and you live in a small-ish apartment, you don't really need to invest in a second set of portable speakers. You can just use your MacBook speakers that can project and fill the whole room.
Back till I slip back, got my lick back.
Brown the pass to White.
So I got the base model running on the M4 chip, but there's also the M4 Pro chip and M4 Max that you can get. But I got the M4, and it's actually been powerful enough for me to edit videos. The M4 chip is 20% faster and more efficient than the M3 chip, and it shows in the benchmark results. But on top of that, when you're running Cinebench, multi-core scores are like almost 50% better than the M3 chip. If you're jumping from an M3 chip, you're definitely going to see a performance bump. And even if you're coming from an M3 Pro, I think the M4 holds its own. Like, you're not going to see a major performance bump. Now, if I'm comparing to the M2 MacBook Air, it is significantly faster. I exported the same video. It's like a typical, one of my typical videos, like 10-minute 4K video, multi-layer, multi-tracks. This guy exported that 10-minute video in like 4 minutes, like a little under 4 minutes, like 3 minute 50 something seconds. This guy took almost 10 minutes, like almost like exact real time. Now for storage, this laptop starts at 512 gigs, which to be honest is not enough for most people. Apple's always been stingy on that front. I did bump it up to 1 terabyte. But to be honest, 1 terabyte is not enough for me. I usually need at least 2 or 4. But I didn't want to pay Apple to get the internal storage bump, because Apple's markup is so freaking expensive. So to go from 512 to 1 terabyte, you already have to pay an extra 200 US dollars. If you want to jump up to 2 terabyte, it's an extra $400. And if you want to jump up to 4 terabyte, it's an extra 1,200 US dollars. I refuse to pay Apple for that markup. Instead, I'm just going to buy a third-party SSD drive. Now, as I already mentioned, I use one right here. I use a SanDisk 4 terabyte, but it's a little bit annoying, because even though this is pretty small, you still have to carry a cable with you. And on top of that, I want the SSD to be with the laptop, so I have to buy this pouch that doesn't look too good. So I'm happy to report that there is a new solution that is much better from today's video sponsor, Sarge. So this is the Sarge Disk Plus. This is just a casing for SSD drive. So Sarge is not selling you actual storage. You have to buy that separately, and then you have to install that yourself. But this is just a casing. It's an aluminum casing, and it is the thinnest storage casing I've seen. It measures only 0.24 inch, and it has a very clever design in that the USB-C cable, it's housed inside the casing. So it's actually right here, and to take it out, you have a little hole in the back. You just poke, the cable will come out. How clever is that? So just the fact that you can store the cable as part of the casing saves you from having to carry an extra bit of thing. This guy supports MagSafe. Now you do have to put on an extra piece of magnet that adds a little bit of thickness, but you can see that even afterwards, it is still very thin. After that, just stick on a magnetic ring on your MacBook that Sarge includes with the package, and then you can snap on the SSD casing onto the MacBook, just like that. It looks a lot cleaner, right, than this cheap little pouch I got for the MacBook Air. This casing also has 2 USB-C ports. Both of these are USB 3.2 Gen 2. And one of these ports also supports pass-through charging, power delivery up to 100 watts. So this is the Sarge Disk Plus. Now this guy's official retail price is between 60 to 70 US dollars, but Sarge always has discounts and deals, so do check out the link in the description below if you want to see what the current price is for this guy. Thanks to Sarge for sponsoring this portion of the video. So anyway, the M4 MacBook Pro, like I said, I think I'm gonna use this guy as my sole work machine going forward, because it is powerful enough for me to export my 4K videos in timely manner. It can also output to 2 external monitors, which the previous M3 machine cannot do. This anti-glare screen is absolutely beautiful, and battery life is tremendous because the Apple Silicon is so efficient. So I took this guy obviously to a coffee shop. I was doing video editing and also answering emails. And after 1 hour of heavy use, like editing videos, answering emails, and also on Slack, this machine dropped only like 9% battery. So that means realistically, even doing video editing, I can use this machine for like close to 10 hours. That's amazing because you have to remember going to before Apple Silicon when you had Intel processors, like especially if you have a Windows machine running Intel processor, you can only do video editing for like 2 hours at most. Usually like 1.5 hours and the laptop will die on you. Now you can actually edit videos for like 10 hours. That is freaking uncanny. And if you're not editing videos, if you're just doing word processing, this guy's gonna go much longer, like at least 16 hours, which is 2 full workday. It sounds like I'm just kissing Apple butt here, but I think for those of you guys who watch my phone reviews, you will know I am definitely not a guy who just kisses Apple butt because I always say the iPhone's camera's not that great. So believe me when I praise the MacBook because it is genuinely deserved. Now, what else is new with this M4 laptop? It comes with the latest version of Mac OS, and with it has a new version of Siri. Before Siri, you can only access it via voice on the MacBook, but now if you tap on the command button twice, Siri will pop up in the upper right corner. And I like that Siri now it's able to take either voice commands or written commands. This is great because I am working out of coffee shops often, so I like that if I need to ask a question, I just type it in more discreetly instead of needing to speak it out where other people can hear me. That's about it for this review, to be honest. There's not that much to talk about with a MacBook because the biggest upgrade is the Apple Silicon and it's just more efficient and faster, which is great, but nothing that I can definitively show you on camera. The benchmark numbers are good, battery life is excellent, video editing is fast, I can zip through the timeline without any lag or stutter. So this guy does the job for a laptop, and now going forward, I want to just have this as my sole work machine. At home, I will plug into my monitor. When I travel, I'll just take it with me. I don't need to have a dedicated MacBook Air and a 16-inch machine anymore. So I'm going to sell this guy, including this ugly ass pouch. If you want to buy this ugly ass pouch, DM me. Maybe I can sell it to you for like, I don't know, like 75 cents or something, this pouch. So yeah, this is the M4 MacBook Pro, and it is the only MacBook that I need, and I think for most people, it is the only MacBook that you guys need too. Obviously, there are exceptions. If you are like a professional 3D graphics artist, or you are someone who's editing like 8K videos, multiple streams, you still need a Mac Studio or a fully spec'd out Max Apple chip, like a M3 Max chip or M4 Max chip. But for like 98% of the rest of us, even for a YouTuber like myself who produces YouTube content quite regularly, an M4 chip is powerful enough. Apple Silicon is pretty damn legit. So yeah, that's about it for this video. I hope you enjoy this content. Stay tuned. I have a lot of phones coming, including the Xiaomi 15 Ultra, the Honor Magic 7 Pro, and a bunch of stuff. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching.